you. Next up is Ms. Galdenzi. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to testify today. I'm Brenna Galdenzi. I'm president and co-founder of Protect Our Wildlife. We are an all-volunteer nonprofit wildlife protection organization. And despite a lot of misinformation that's floating around right now, I just want to be clear for the probably, I don't know, millionth time, we are not an anti-hunting organization. We are grateful to have hunters and anglers and farmers and seventh generation Vermonters and everyone in between who believe in our mission and who join us. And I believe many of them have written to you in support of this bill. So I just want to make that clear. I also feel the need to, again, defend our organization. I would like to remind folks to refer to the Vermont Secretary of State's definition of lobbying. We do not, we're an all-volunteer organization, number one. We don't employ anybody. And we don't spend $500 or more a year on direct lobbying. Therefore, we are not required to file as a lobbyist. No surprise, we are in support of S.258. And the first issue, I mean, this has been kind of vetted in public hearings. I think in 2022 with a couple of bills, there was so much public testimony on both the coyote hounding piece, the Fish and Wildlife Board piece. So this is really, I don't think anything super new to legislators and to the public who have had ample opportunity to comment on this in the past. So the Fish and Wildlife Board, I've been trying to work with this Fish and Wildlife Board since moving to Vermont in 2010. And I guess our big concern is that this board is making essentially public policy on a shared public resource, which is our shared wildlife, without representation from a diverse public. That is just simply not good democracy. And why should only 14 people who are not elected and do not represent the majority of Vermonters hold the ultimate power to pass regulations that impact all of us? All members are either trappers, hunters, anglers, or hounders. There is little to no diversity of values, politics, and other factors. And the non-consumptive public doesn't feel comfortable speaking before the board due to a history of hostile behavior. And I do come with receipts always. And so I provided ample exhibits that you all have access to, including an ethics complaint that we sent concerning the Fish and Wildlife Board back in 2019, I believe. And the governor appointments themselves lack complete transparency. I mean, it's an opaque process. There's no Fish and Wildlife Board member one day, and the next day someone shows up. We don't know their qualifications. We don't know their interests. We don't know of any potential conflicts of interest. And on at least 2 occasions that we know of, board members were appointed without even submitting an application, a written statement of interest, no CVs, no resumes, while there were a number of qualified, albeit non-consumptive individuals who had formally applied, submitted long letters, resumes. They didn't even receive a courtesy of a response from the governor. And these concerns were sent to the governor back in 2021. I included the letter. We received no response from the governor. So again, it's this impenetrable, iron triangle that we just, we can't seem to be heard. So S.258 allows for diverse voices at the table to share concerns, ideas, and recommendations to department staff. And I read this quote and it really resonated with me. Accessibility is being able to get in the building. Diversity is getting invited to the table. Inclusion is having a voice at the table. Belonging is having your voice heard at the table. That last gray highlighted point is what's been missing for so long. As you can say, you're invited to the board meetings, you're invited to working groups, but voices aren't truly being heard. And in a 2019 survey conducted by the University of Vermont Center for Rural Studies, the majority of Vermonters do support, the spirit of S.258. 67.7% of Vermonters would prefer to have the professional staff at the Department of Fish and Wildlife make regulations and not an all-volunteer, largely uncredentialed board. And there's access to the actual survey methodology, and the link below. And this is interesting, so everybody pays into conservation, yet only license holders have power in decision making. And this is becoming more and more relevant now, due to changing values in Vermont, for better or for worse. This is just the reality of it. As revenue from licenses decrease, revenue from federal and general funds increase. So you see 64% of the department's license revenue came from, or budget came from license revenues, down to 26% in 2021. Federal revenues are at 33%, and oftentimes this is wrongly identified as strictly excise taxes on hunting and fishing equipment. Pittman-Robertson, the large bulk of that money actually comes from recreational shooters, unaffiliated to hunting. So someone like myself who has a gun, buys ammunition, I'm essentially paying into the federal reserves, into the Pittman-Robertson Act. And then 41% of the department's budget is general funding, again, that we all pay into at 25%. That includes tourists, you know, via the Meals and Rooms taxes, state and other. And we emailed the department to get clarification on what state and other means, and they have not responded to us, but I do know that 25% is general fund. And again, that's money that we all pay into, and we don't have a waste. And license sales have diminished over time. I don't think this is a surprise to anybody. 47,000 resident hunting licenses in 1985, down to 17,400 2021. This further kind of just illustrates the changing values in Vermont, and whose voices are being heard, who's paying for conservation, really. To coyote hounding, I promise I won't have any super graphic videos or photos. I totally understand. I don't think that we can do the cause justice if we don't at least just show the reality of what's happening in Vermont. All these photos are from Vermont. So coyote hounding is a recreational activity where large, powerful hounds hunt coyotes, while hunters attempt to track the hounds on GPS, oftentimes miles away in their vehicles. There is no control of hounds that are running miles away by merely wearing GPS and shock collar. I participated heavily in the working group. I've been following this issue closely, listening in on, coyote hounders, and, it's difficult to imagine how a pack of 4 hounds running in different directions, just because they're wearing a GPS and a shock collar, are under any real method of control, especially when the hounders aren't people with visual or verbal command. It's standard practice for the hounders to be following the hounds, in their trusts. So that is why, the Fish and Wildlife Department was challenged, rightfully so, by LCAR, because they did not meet legislative intent to put forth a definition of control that will minimize future run-ins with the public. Vermonters, you talk about traditions. There's a tradition of property owner rights, violation of landowner rights. People want to be able to say what they want to happen on their property. That's a Vermonter thing, right? We should be able to say what we want. And despite landowners, posted signs or no trespassing signs, hounders will tell you themselves that hounds can't read posted signs. So every year there's violation of landowner rights. This coyote here had been terrorized for miles through Vermont, through the woods by radio collared hounds, until the animal is seen here, sought refuge near private residence. The hounders showed up and shot the animal. And for anyone who's brave enough, there is video footage that accompanies this. Again, violation of private property rights. Again, there is no way to keep hounds off of private property or where they're not wanted when they're in pursuit of a coyote. This is just one of many examples. This is from Shore in Vermont, where someone who owns an orchard, an apple orchard, was afraid of these hounds running on his property because it caused his dogs to float through an electric fence. And with the current definition of control of dogs, this isn't going to stop. This is going to continue. And the public is going to continue to be here in the legislature, and so we see real changes enacted. And you all have access to this if you want to read a bit more closely. And again, these hounds running at large is a public safety concern. I know this woman from Fairleigh, she's retired veterinarian, wanted to come and testify before your committee. She wanted to bring the dog, Spider, into the committee and said, I don't think that's allowed. But she was riding her bike on a class 4 road in Fairleigh with her dog running along beside her, and a pack of 4 hounds came running out of the woods, And her dog, by the way, looks like a coyote, similar to a coyote. The hounds, instead of turning their sights on his dog, continued to maul the dog for 2.5 to 3 miles. And until the hounders showed up. And the warden said, oh, you know, this was nothing illegal. You know, it's just, it's just what happens when you have packs of hounds running uncontrolled. These things can happen. So this is a public safety concern. This isn't the Vermont, again, for better or for worse, of the 1950s. Vermont is more populated, more people recreating on public lands, class 4 roads, more houses going up. There's going to be continued conflicts with the public. And I hope one day it doesn't end up in a person becoming severely injured. We also have hounds that are running uncontrolled into roads, right? I mean, they're gonna run where the coyote's running, and this is an example here on a Vermont hunting page where there's a dead coyote hound in the highway that got struck by a car. You know, this is also a public safety concern, right? I mean, you have a pack of hounds running into the road. You know, it puts motorists in danger. And this is the part that really is most kind of perplexing to us, is that coyote hunting in general is really antithetical to Fish and Wildlife's own science. So this is from their website. Coyotes have increased in reproductive rates in response to hunting. The population rate quickly from efforts to control their numbers directly by hunting. So this isn't even looking to ban coyote hunting, right? I'm just trying to convey that the Fish and Wildlife Department even acknowledges that coyote hunting in general isn't science-based. So we hear follow the science, but they seem to be selective as to which science, you know, they follow. And it's not just, you know, animal activists who are referring to coyote hounding as legal dog fighting. Coyote hounders themselves refer to this activity as dog fighting. This is Northeast Hunting with Hounds, all the names have been redacted, where a coyote hounder was talking about, you know, he was upset actually that some of his fellow coyote hounders, it seems to be common practice now that they allow their hounds to attack, to maul, to rip apart, you know, a cornered coyote. You know, he said this isn't really what used to happen. It seems like in this new era, this video game mentality, TikTok likes, Instagram likes, it's something potentially new. And as you'll see here on the left, this is a photo from Vermont. You know, it places both the hounds and wildlife in danger, especially when the hounds, you know, confront the wild animal on the ground and the coyote turns around to fight. That's what the coyote's gonna do. Can't climb a tree. It's stuck there with a pack of hounds attacking it. So it is legalized dog fighting, in my opinion. And 2 last slides. Baiting coyotes. This is a photo from Sutton, Vermont taken this month. Coyote hounders dump bait piles. Sometimes it's pig heads, sometimes it's you know, beaver carcasses, whatever they have. And Vermont Fish and Wildlife tells us, you know, do not bait wildlife. You know, it causes conflicts with people. You know, but again, it conflicts with their policies because they allow predator hunters to leave out bait piles that draws in all kinds of animals, causing, you know, conflicts in communities. So again, I would really like the department to follow their own science and stop baiting. And lastly, bait draws in domestic dogs who may be mistaken for coyotes and shot. In the matter of just 1 year, 3 dogs were attracted to bait piles set for coyotes, shot and killed. Dummerston, Barry, and Tunbridge. And I know we'll hear folks say, well, your dog should stay on their own property. Well, this dog here, I believe, had just ventured over into the neighbor's yard. You know, she smelled the gut piles, she smelled deer carcasses, and, you know, coyote hunter, you know, mistaken her for a coyote and shot killed her. So it's this type of, you know, activity that's causing a lot of problems for communities and for wildlife. And S.258 is a win. It's a win for wildlife, it's a win for the public, for democracy, and really the future of conservation that is lacking traditional license fees. The department needs to start drawing in people like Protect Our Wildlife and the non-consumptive public. They need us to augment their funding. And if you allow us to become part of the decision-making paradigm, we can work together to fund the department into the future.